A few years ago, my family moved into a house that had already outlived a century. It stood alone on top of a hill, far from town, swallowed by thick bushland. No neighbors, no passing cars, just trees clawing at the wind, and a silence that felt too deliberate. From the moment we arrived, the house felt like it was watching us, waiting for us to notice. Later, we learned the truth. No one had lived there for almost 8 years. At first, the house whispered instead of screamed. Soft taps in the dead of night, not random, rhythmic, like fingernails testing the walls. Footsteps that stopped the moment you held your breath. A single bang now and then, never loud enough to justify panic, but always loud enough to make you lie awake, staring into the dark, listening for it to happen again. We told ourselves it was nothing, old timber settling, animals brushing past the walls, our minds filling the silence with fear. But the house grew bolder. Voices came next. Sometimes they were distant, muffled conversations bleeding through empty rooms. Other times they were whispers, close enough that you could feel breath against your ear. Sometimes more than one of us heard them. Other times only one would freeze in place while everyone else heard nothing at all. Shadows began to move where shadows shouldn't exist. Figures lingered just outside our vision, always gone the moment we turned our heads. I kept lying to myself. Light tricks, fatigue, anything but the truth. Then there was the growling. Low, slow, wrong. We had 4 mini fox terriers, and at first we blamed them. But their growls were sharp and high. What we heard was deep, too deep, like it came from a chest much larger than any of them. It never quite sounded familiar. It never sounded animal. I might have kept doubting everything if I hadn't caught it on camera. One afternoon, I was filming a TikTok in my room, casually talking about my collection. Nothing unusual, nothing staged. Later, when I rewatched the video, my stomach dropped. Behind me, outside the window, a dark, human-shaped figure walked past, slow and deliberate, and vanished. I tried to explain it away, maybe a family member, maybe someone passing by, but it was raining. No one had been outside, and no one had any reason to be there. Around that same time, I started waking up with scratches. We had cats, but these marks were wrong, too far apart, too wide. They appeared on nights when the cats hadn't even been inside. The layout of the house didn't help. A long hallway connected the kitchen to the garage, perfectly visible from the lounge room where we stayed up late. One night, a friend of mine, a complete skeptic, was staying over. While the TV played, we both froze at the exact same moment. A figure walked through the hallway. Not a flicker, not a shadow, something walking. We heard it, we saw it, and it didn't happen just once. Over the years, it kept repeating, like the house was replaying a memory on a loop. The worst part was where I slept. My room was built underneath the house, in a side section you couldn't reach from inside. You had to go outside, down a narrow path, and enter beneath the floorboards. That's where I slept, alone. Most nights I heard footsteps directly above me, tapping inside the walls, whispers that only existed once the lights were off. I told myself it was my family upstairs, but the sounds never matched the layout. They came from places no one could stand. Near my room were the water tank pumps, hidden beneath the house. There was also a door leading further underneath, somewhere we rarely went. On the day we moved out, we checked that area one last time. That's when we found it. A pentagram carved in the ground, old candles placed carefully around it, blackened, melted, clearly burned many times and left there for years. None of us had ever seen it before. But the land itself felt wrong too. Dense bush, jagged rocks, a place you didn't wander into without feeling watched. One day, a friend and I walked about 250 meters from the house and found a clearing with massive boulders. Between the rocks were baby dolls, old, broken, staring. Beside them lay scraps of newspaper so aged the words had rotted away. We told my pop. He came with us, and for the first time, even he looked uneasy. We called the police. They investigated, but nothing ever came of it. They said it was probably left behind by a previous owner. Even my grandparents, hardcore skeptics, couldn't explain that house. They never called it paranormal, but they admitted something was there, something they couldn't rationalize. My younger brother changed the most. After we moved in, his personality twisted. He became angry, constantly on edge. He said something touched him, hit him, scratched him. Years after we moved out, he still says it never fully left. While we lived there, 6 of our pets died. Before that house, never. After that house, never. Only there. Now we've lived in a brand new house for years, first owners, clean history. No footsteps, no whispers, no shadows. Just silence the way silence is supposed to feel. I'm not saying it was definitely something paranormal. Some things could be explained, but there were parts of that house, moments shared by skeptics and believers alike, that no one has ever been able to explain. This all happened almost 9 years ago, and now, as I dig through old photos and videos, I can't help but feel like the house is still waiting for me to find something it didn't want forgotten. I'll update when I do.